and welcome to the next episode, Learn, Grow, Do, Repeat with Jamie and Totino. So today I'm really excited to bring to you a guest that we were connected together by a mutual friend. And when she reached out and said, yeah, you get this guy on the show, I had no hesitation. I said, let's make it happen. I did some research myself and I knew straight away that, there's going to be a lot of golden nuggets and some really good learnings for you guys to take away from this episode. So we have a former lawyer who has 3 university degrees himself, one in biomedical science, one in business, and one in law. He's built a multi-million-dollar share portfolio. And on the back of that, he's written the book called Money Grows on Trees, which when he sent me that, I was like, I need one of those trees. And I'm sure everyone out there wants one of those trees as well. He placed first in 2016 in an IMBA bodybuilding competition and recently completed his first 100-kilometer ultra marathon. Both him and his wife have successfully built a multi-level marketing business, which turns over $500 million a year. And they have both founded the side hustle secret formula as well, which is really cool too. Ultimately, together, they're now on a mission to give back, help people raise their money game, and help them diversify income as well. We have Lloyd Ross. Welcome, buddy, to the show.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me on. I'm really pumped. I'm excited about this show, and that was a great intro. I hope that guy shows up. He sounds good.
Is that you?
Evidently.
Good. Like I said when we first got on the call before we started recording, congratulations on everything you've been able to achieve. It's incredible. And then when, Dimity connected us, I knew straight away that, like I said in there, definitely worth having a chat together and putting some amazing content out to the listeners. So,
Definitely.
buddy, we're going to go straight into rapid fire. You have no idea what this is,
No idea.
which is amazing. So we've got about 20, 21 questions, quick answers. You ready?
Okay, ready.
Favorite song right now?
Stevie Nicks, Dreams.
Taking it back. I like it. Favorite song to get pumped up to?
Rocky.
Rocky theme. Anything Rocky from the Amazing 5 movies. Favorite movie?
Braveheart / Saving Private Ryan.
Nice. Favorite book? Other than your own.
Fiction, Cain and Abel, number 1. Probably number 1 overall. And then nonfiction, I would say the Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask, was that the inspiration behind doing the ultra marathon? So yes. You've answered that question already. I can cross that one off the list. Amazing. Favorite color?
Blue.
Go-to meal?
Go-to meal. Rat? Okay. Gomez.
Oh, I love it. This is the pressure. It's early days, rapid fire, on the spot. Favorite TV show?
TV show. God. I've been watching The Queen's Gambit. Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, to be honest, but might be worth getting onto it. Your first job?
Unloading ceramic pots from a container at 15.
Love it. Your biggest celebrity / sporting idol growing up?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely. What's your favorite movie of his?
Favorite
movie? That's not in the rapid fire question.
Probably Command. Like Commander's pretty.
That's
bad,
mine
right?
too.
Yeah.
Like it's one guy who takes on a whole country.
That's
like,
right.
How does that happen?
I think that's one of the best.
And he just rolls in there on a little boat, does his own thing, and then just flies out,
Yes, the realism of it. I love it.
So real. Love it. One thing you hate or dislike, and you can't say coriander.
No, can I say anything?
Anything.
Complacency, incompetence, and mediocrity.
Okay, that's 3, but we'll just go with it. We'll go with it. Funniest or craziest thing you've done?
Craziest thing I've done. The 100 ultra was pretty crazy.
Yeah, man.
Jumping off the biggest bungee was pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Book or audiobook?
Book.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Sum up your mindset in one word.
My mindset?
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
What is something you haven't done yet that you really would like to do, though?
Go on a cruise in the Mediterranean with my wife.
Even after this year, you still want to go on a cruise?
Yeah, we're all gonna die one day. It doesn't matter.
Exactly right. You come this far. What's the worst thing that can happen? Love it. Proudest moment personally and proudest moment professionally.
Proudest moment personally was finishing the ultra marathon, the 111-kilometer ultra, and winning my first boxing fight. And professionally was winning the Man of the Year award for our company in 2018.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Thanks, man.
Tell us something that no one knows about you, Lloyd.
I used to have my tongue pierced.
Oh, one of those guys, huh?
One of those, run around London,
Tongue pierced, no longer though, which is good. Now you can substitute. So your greatest failure. Now you can substitute failure for any word that resonates best with you. But your greatest failure that ended up being your best lesson.
Greatest failure ended up being my best lesson was when I went into the CFA charter exam, which is brutal 6 hours it takes to do those exams. They're only offered once a year, 3 levels. I studied for 6 months straight, all my annual leave, and I went into level 1 where the pass rate's 30% and I failed. But what made it a really bad failure was I went back again, second year, and failed again. And then the third time I went back, I was like, come on. And I went in again and I passed. And those were the best failures.
Love that. Well done, buddy. So what was it? CFA, did you say?
Yeah, Chartered Financial Analyst.
Yeah,
it's the hardest exam in finance. Yeah.
Wow. Well done, buddy. Well done. If you could choose to have lunch with any one person in the world, who would it be? You got a 2-hour time limit, and where would you have lunch?
I love this question. Amazing. I would love to have lunch with Warren Buffett at where he goes to have lunch in Omaha.
Wherever he goes, we'll go there.
We'll go there.
Love it. That's cool. What was 10-year-old Lloyd like?
Pretty sporty. Played video games, rode bikes, traded basketball cards, played a lot of basketball. Pretty shy, not that extroverted, and pretty B grade student.
Love that. B grade, that's pretty good. Better than me. I was a solid D.
No good in school.
No, yeah, exactly right. No good in school whatsoever, other than sport. Obviously, dominated that. Outside of that, that's about it. What would be one skill, quality, trait, belief, value that you see consistent across your closest 5 friends, acquaintances, business partners, whatever it may be, that is consistent, but the one that's most important to you as well?
They're probably the 5 around me that I value the most. They're really authentic, and they want to live more than a mediocre life.
Love that. Last question. We've done well to get through this. Well done.
Yeah.
It's a nice one. Your favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? I think Superman, because I'm pretty sure, because I tell you why I wanted to be Superman. Well, I went to him first, and what I think about him is he's the only superhero that doesn't put on a costume. He was born Superman, so he actually takes off his costume to become the person he becomes. But every other superhero has to put on a costume. I know you're thinking about the one, right?
Yeah, I'm actually they're going through my mind. Is there anyone else? It's but okay, cool. That makes sense. I like it. He was born a superhero. I like that. That is a good way to look at it. Well, Lloyd, that is rapid fire. Congratulations, buddy. You made it through.
Thanks.
It doesn't get any harder than that. You can definitely put that on your resume now.
There you go.
Rapid fire with Jamie on his podcast. Love
that was
it.
awesome.
Well, again, like I said, buddy, thank you so much for making the time to be here. And congratulations on everything you've been able to achieve. And, I'm sure there's going to be many, many, many more that come your way. Let me ask you this. What's been one thing you've learned about yourself personally during COVID?
Well, one thing I've learned about myself during COVID is that I don't often let macroeconomic events get in the way of my success. I think 2020 has been my best year of all my years. Which
across all elements, so to say.
Yep, I've had some tremendously successful years before, but this has been my most successful in different areas, personally and professionally at the same time, which is crazy because it's COVID's just knocked the wind out of everything.
100%.
So it's weird. I guess not letting those types of macroeconomic events get in the way of your success. I learned that about myself. We can still succeed in what we have left. So
how cool is that?
Yeah,
You know, and I guess ultimately to date, this has probably been the most toughest year in a long time in society.
Yeah.
And it's sort of common in a way, like sort of what you're sharing there, Lloyd. Like, yes, definitely there's been some sadness and there's been some despair where, you know, people have lost their lives or they've lost jobs and money and everything else that goes with it. You know, and we can always be there to support those. And on the other side, there's been people who have, you know, done well, who have succeeded, who have, I don't think the word's lucky, okay, but in a way set themselves up to capitalize in this opportunity that's arised in this time. So again, I definitely want to dive into a little bit more of, you know, how that all happens. The first thing I want to ask, though, is going to go back to that ultra marathon. Tell me why, how. You mentioned David Goggins Can't Be Hurt. That's an incredible book. If you haven't listened to that or read it, you have to go and read it or listen to it. But where did the idea come from? Why did you do it? How did you go? Tell us about it in 2 minutes.
Okay, can I unpack this story, and I'll do it in 2 minutes, but it's really important because my whole year is framed around this one meeting of this one person. Okay. So I read the book, David Goggins Can't Hurt Me, last year. Great book if you haven't picked it up. And I'm like, okay, I need to level up my personal goals here. Like I want to get the juice. So we're in our F45 studio and we said to our gym owner, we said, look, we want to do 10 F45 sessions in a row. He's like, what? That's crazy. But I like it. Let's do it. So we went in there and we did 7.5 hours of functional fitness. It was beast mode. It was 15 minutes a day. Yeah, it was brutal. We came up with that idea from that book. So then when we finished that, I'm like, all right, leveled up. That's really good. That was something that very uncommon. I don't think it's been done before. And so what happened was then I happened to a chance meeting with a guy called Gavin Top. He actually just rang me as I jumped on this podcast. He's become a great friend. And I bumped into him at a conference and he said to me, I want to show you something. I said, okay. Now, unbeknownst to me, he is an ex-professional boxer. He's actually an Australian title holder and he was ranked number 12th in the world. Wow. And he's actually in the Queensland Boxing Hall of Fame. And I didn't know any of this. I just liked him as a bloke. Anyway, so he says, look, I got this boxing program. Showed me it all. I was like, okay. I said, what do you want me to do? You want me to influence it, help? He goes, I want you to do it. I was like, oh. And then I'm thinking, this is what you asked for. You need to level up. Let's go. So I said, yes. He said, yep, let's do it. So I went in there, trained for 12 weeks and did my first exhibition boxing fight.
Love that. Which
was just like next level uncomfortable, right? As you can imagine. So trained, did that, finished it, got fighter of the series. I really went hard at it and it was an amazing experience. And after that, I started hanging around Gav more. We kept training together. Like I just loved, like iron sharpens iron. So I was like, I'm sharpening myself against him, right? And vice versa. So once that happened, he said, you know what? Because he heard me talk about money a lot. He said, you know what? I'm going to challenge you. You're going to write a book. He'd just written one called The Rite of Passage for the Modern Man. And I saw it. He's doing well with it. And he said, you're going to write a book and you're going to do it in 4 weeks. So he really is great at bringing the best out in people. And he put me on the spot. And I was like, whoa. I was like, ugh. And it was challenging. I'm like, all right, got to write a book. And so we did that. I wrote that and did it and released it. It's been super successful and we're just getting started. But it was amazing how that came about. And then once that happened, we're chatting away and he tagged me in this ultra marathon, 100-kilometer ultra marathon on Facebook. It was in Melbourne, but the Melbourne COVID was closed off. So he's like, I said, look, it's closed. We can't get there. And he said, find one locally. So I'm jumping online. I'm cruising around Facebook and I'm like, oh, this one looks juicy. It's called the Guzzler. And it's a trail ultra 111-kilometer ultra marathon in through bushes at night. And it's brutal. It's like 4,500 meters elevation. It's horrific. And I'm like, I'm in. And he goes, great. I said, you're going to do it? He's like, okay, I'll do it with you. And then my wife said she'll do it. And then her sister said she'll do it. So there was a group of us and then Gavin's daughter. So there's 5 of us really. And then another mate joined in. So this crew. And that's how it happened. And we're like, we're training in the hills and we're doing half marathons. And at this point, I'd not run more than 10Ks. I'd never done a marathon. So it was going to be juicy. And we rolled in there and it was a 26.5-hour torture chamber. So that's the story behind the ultra marathon.
And it's incredible in a way. Well, firstly, well done, buddy. You know, and it's funny how it started with just the small things of, you know, doing 10 F45 sessions, then boxing, then writing a book, and then it just goes bang, ultra marathon. So all this happened in the last 12 months?
12 months. Mm-hmm.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. Crazy.
Tell us about the ultra. Like, what was it like?
Well, the training's pretty brutal. So we were doing about 70 or 80. So here's the thing. People train their whole life. Like they are runners. They
this is their thing. what
Yes,
they
they're
do.
there. They've got a bit of talent there, and they train for years before they run a
Yeah.
100-kilometer. And even the people in this Facebook group, the guys are like, you guys have just left it too late because we're 10 weeks away from the race, and that's when we joined. So we do this post in this group, and they're like, I don't think you can do it. And
I think
and
it's
I don't
easy.
like I hate when people say I can't do stuff.
100%.
It really drives me. So I'm like, oh. And one of the ladies in the group, she said, most people don't run 100 kilometers off the bat. They'll do this first or that first. And I said, well, we're not most people. Anyway, so we had a lot of hate in there. And then we trained. So we're up, at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning doing half marathons. We did about 3 of them a week and then a 35K on the weekends up hills. And we did that for about 7 weeks. Get you in shape, get you, it's brutal. And then we go to this race and I'm thinking to myself, God, we're gonna run all night here. And so that's what we did. And it's up and down hills. And like I got to the 57K checkpoint and I mean, you're already in pain at 35. That's as long as the human body can typically run without being in too much pain. 35Ks probably. And then you get there and you're in pain. And I got shin splints and I'm thinking, fire out, my shin splints hurt. And then I'm like, how am I going to get to 57? But we did it. And we're rolling into 57 at nighttime. And I got chafing everywhere.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and then it's like night. So we started at 6 a.m. in the morning and we're rolling to the 57K checkpoint at night. Because for all the viewers, it's not a 42K flat run.
No way.
5 hours, right? Yeah. It's like almost the same height in elevation as Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
So I start running and I had to change my gags, my knees getting crushed. I'm thinking, oh my God, we just hobbled into 57Ks. Had a support group down there, like massaging us and like giving us stuff and feeding us, and you got to eat and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. Then we had to get up and run another, 57 kilometers, wherever it was, right? So out of that, we went at the nighttime. Man, and we to get from 57 to 83-kilometer checkpoint was just like hills, like steep, deep, and huge hills. And we roll in 83 at 4 a.m. in the morning, sleep deprived, just brutal.
Out of it.
Yeah, and like only 40% of people finish the race. So we're like, we have to finish this race. So we went from 83 to 100, and we were like running as best we could at the end because our bodies are just like beaten up.
Shutting down, yeah.
Yeah, shutting down. And we finished we went across the finish line at 26 and a half hours, and the cutoff is 28.
Well done, buddy. Congratulations. Like to you and obviously everyone that did it. Yeah. Huge achievement. Yeah. Well done, man. Well done. And I'm sure there's lots of learnings that came out of that, metaphors that go into life that will never be forgotten. And there's moments in there that you have to push through that it's developed you.
I think something for the viewers to take into consideration, because here's the thing. Whenever you do something audacious, when you say I haven't really run more than 10Ks and I'm going to do 100 ultra, it's so outrageous that they just go, you can't do it, but they can't do it.
Totally.
So they're putting their own limitations. Yeah. And so here's the funny thing. In that group, the girl that said, you're not most people, most people this, she was signed up for the 50 and she didn't finish. So just because someone has an opinion of you based on their limitations doesn't mean you can't do it.
100%. I love that, man. I love that. How good is that? Such big stories that come out of it, such big breakthroughs. And I'm sure that's, like you said, you want it to be leveled up a bit. Now you've leveled up from like level 10 to like a level 100.
Yeah.
100%, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So look, man, congratulations on the book as well. I had a bit of a read, actually read it twice in the lead up to this. I really wanted to, dive deep into it and to get your feedback on it as well. And the fact that you wrote it in 4 weeks is really incredible as well. Now you're telling me that, and after reading it, it's like, that's pretty cool.
Well, thanks for reading it twice.
No, my pleasure, man. It's money, and a lot of people try and steer away from the conversation of money, but realistically, it's there.
Yeah.
If you can get your hands on some of it, then why not? And if there's some cool strategies that you can use to grow it, and use some of the content that you've created, then why not? And then if you can have a money tree.
Who doesn't want a money tree?
That's ultimately the goal. Isn't that what our parents say? Money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, hold on. Lloyd's here to tell you something different. So look, man, tell us a bit more about, one, how do I get one of these trees? Cool. And secondly, where did the idea come about? Why did you decide to write it other than Gavin putting you under the pressure to do it? Talk to us a little bit more about the book.
Thanks. And it's funny, like I think a lot of us who, have mastered something in our lives, in the back of our minds, we want to leave a legacy. And there's no better way to do it than a book. So I think secretly everyone wants to write a book. They want to leave something of their life. But when you're writing a book, you have to have a compelling story to tell. And so you got to live a great, do things that scare you and do things that others don't. And you can write a book because that's worth reading, right? So anyway, I guess the book took me about 15 years to write, because the reality is that I learned all that stuff in the last 15 years, right? Since high school. And the book begins when I was in high school and my teacher said, hey, go read these 2 books. That's when my financial journey began. But like how the book came about was Gav did actually challenge me to write it, but he knew I had it in me and I was undeveloped there. Right? He goes, man, what the heck? Like, you can do, but it's nice for people to pour belief into you like that. And until someone keeps you accountable, you won't do something.
Agreed.
So it's him that inspired the book to be written, but it was there ready to go. You think about, I think about my journey with money has always been, well, it begins when you're young. And so I was fortunate to have my parents who, in the book, I talk about my dad earning a lot of money, losing a lot, and I was around it. And it wasn't taboo at all, which is probably an advantage, that I knew it was capable of being made. And I wanted to make it because I saw what it did. It gives people choice. All right. It's not a dirty word. Yeah. So that helped. And then I learned by actually becoming a self-learner. And I think the most important message for anyone listening to this needs to be, if you want to level up, you've got to pick up a book.
Mm.
You've either got to read it or experience it. There's some things you can't learn in a book, like running 100 ultra. You can't learn that stuff in a book. You can be inspired by a book to do it. But the thing with money and these types of things is you can learn a lot in a book. And so I read a lot of books. I read tons of books. I read Warren Buffett books, Robert Kiyosaki. I've read so many books, more than once, because I wanted to be a master of money. Because, if you have infinite money, imagine the impact you can make.
That's the infinite choice.
Infinite choice. So, I was like, money does grow on trees. Let me show you how I've done it. Because we have money coming into our bank account in different varieties, without any debt. And it just, if you follow me on Facebook, I'm just living this life where I get to go to Europe. We do whatever we want,
That's good.
And I wanted to impart that to people, that I want to change their mindset.
Love that, 100%. And that is one of the questions that I actually got here. We'll skip to that one then. Like, what do you think are some of the barriers, or why do you think for some people, one, maybe they don't believe they can have it? And I know it comes from the upbringing. There's stories every single day of people like yourself and like others out there who have created wealth, who maybe didn't come from the best possible upbringing in history. So why do you think some people, it does hold them back? Like, what do you see as the common barriers that stops people from achieving their wealth goals?
I think there's some fears. There's primarily fears that dictate, whether we can achieve things or not. It's all fear-based. And the fears are, what will people think of me if I have money? So if I start being the person with money, my friends will talk about me, right? And no one likes to be like judged. So judgment is a big fear, judgment. If you have money, you're being judged, but they don't realize you're being judged anyway. So
whether you've got it or you don't,
yeah,
you're being judged anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And also this, I think in Australia specifically too, there's this mentality or identity that everyone seems to want to live into, which is the Aussie Butler identity. And I don't know where that's come from, but that's a really bad identity to live into, because it limits you. It limits your potential. And I think it's
so explain that. Like, is that like, be like the guy who's always working, always hustling, doing something, like working hard?
Always working hard, scraping away, just putting the food on the table, just everything's hard, and don't have any money. And there's this like badge of honor that I've like, I'm doing it tough type thing. And it just doesn't need to be around. So I think of people living into that identity, plus letting people judge them if they have money or not. And this self-worth thing, it like, do I deserve money? No one ever, it's not like what's the right terminology? Like a squirrel, right? It needs to go and collect nuts and eat nuts to survive. It doesn't go, oh, I'm not worthy of this nut. It doesn't do that. It's a survival thing. And somewhere along the lines, I think if you feel like you're not worthy of it, I just think you've got too much time on your hands to think about that. Money is all about time. I talk about it in the book. I'm like,
I like that analogy you used. Like, if you find $20 on the floor, it's not, can I go and buy a new shirt? I've found, an hour of time.
Exactly. So I think too many people look at money as a thing to buy things. It's time. So anyone who doesn't want to multiply their time or get time back or save time, I think they're taking their time for granted on earth, you know. So money just gives you the ability to have more time. And I think if people focus on that, they would focus less on whether I'm worth that or not. And, you know, I think finally, for people who don't feel like they're worthy or they have this poor money mindset, it's all behavioral based. So it does begin in their environment. So if you're in an environment that doesn't support creating money, making money, or a poor environment of you got poor habits, then get out of the environment. Because, you know, money is 80% behavioral. So you've got to have the right behaviors, discipline, you know, consistency, these types of things.
I like that, man. I like that. And you know what's funny? Like those last three things you just said there, like, you know, the behavior and the consistency and the discipline, that goes even outside of money. That's
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's common, you know, skills and values and an attitude to have that it's not just going to help you build wealth. It'll help you build the health goals you have, the relationship goals you have, the self-love you have, the self-worth you have.
Yep.
You know, so it's not just and I love the fact that you're not making it too, and that, again, for when people do get the opportunity to read the book, it's not too like high level where you need to go to university to understand it.
Heck no.
And I love it like that, man. Well done.
Yeah. I think if you go to university, you'll learn not how to make money. And I can say that because I've been to university more than almost every single human in Australia. But But with well, you just touched on it. Oh, so I did this post the other day. You know, the same discipline it takes to create a 6-pack in your body is the same discipline it takes to create 6 figures in your bank account.
Yeah.
It's the same discipline, behavior.
Stay consistent, turn up, follow
Absolutely.
the process. I love that. 100%. I love that.
Exactly.
So if someone was like, you know, 25, say even 18 to 25, say, right, sort of getting into this whole, getting a job, making some money, savings, people telling them buy a house, people are saying put money in investments, here, there, everywhere. There's a million different things. What would be some really core things that, you know what, if it's an 18-year-old, 20-year-old listening right now, it's like, do this. And I know you can't give direct financial advice, just putting a disclaimer out there. But, you know, where would be a good spot for someone to put some time, energy, and effort towards?
The most important thing to understand is, and my dad taught me this, he said, listen, mate, you're going to make most of your money in your 30s and 40s. That's what he said. So, you know, that's when you'll make most of your money. So he said, in your 20s, he said, focus on experience and skills and knowledge. And I think if I'm talking to a young 20-something-year-old or whatever it might be, this whole get rich quick thing is not effective, because if you get the money, you will lose it. Your skills and experience and mindset have to grow first before the money can stick with you. All right. So if you see young people getting lots of money, I can almost guarantee they're not going to have it. It'll leave them, because here's the best way to create money. Develop your skills,
100%.
your mindset, your behavior, your discipline, and your habits, which takes work. It takes, you know, unpleasant stuff, time. It takes time. So I think in your 20s, focus on accumulating really high income generating skills. And they are like great communication skills. Learn how to public speak, learn how to write well, learn how to write, you know, copy, and learn how to read really well, because all the knowledge is out there, you know, and learn how to network. Meeting people is a great skill. So I think in your 20s, if you're learning all these really good skills you didn't learn in school, then you're going to be more valuable as a human, and you're going to be able to make money later. But too many people look for money. They don't look for skills. All right. And the other thing is that to be wealthy, you have to be able to develop yourself, like I said, but also save and then invest. And you apply your skills to learn how to invest and save, and then you actually do it. So I think the biggest step to take is to set a goal and say, okay, I need to get to my first $100,000. And I'm here to tell the audience, for young people, there is no shortcut to that. There are some, obviously, out there where you can tell it, but discipline in saving and being patient is how I made my first 100,000. And I saved it. Then I invested it. And when you've got $100,000 invested, let's say in the stock market, in an index fund or something, then if the market grows by 15%, you make $15,000 that particular year, plus dividends, and for doing nothing but sitting on your butt. So your money will make money, but you've got to actually acquire some. And that takes sacrifice, saving, minimizing your spending, and have the goal of 100,000 and really get it.
But that's the character building time. It's like, you
That's a
know what?
great.
I could go and
Yes.
get my smashed avo, which is, everyone's talking about spending $30 on a Sunday morning,
Yep.
or, I can have Cocoa Pops for the next 3 years
Yeah. That's it.
to help me get my 100K, or, get the extra 50 or whatever it is,
Yep.
and
And
obviously just the smashed avo isn't the one part of it, but that's that
that's
attitude,
right.
that mindset towards it.
Absolutely.
If you're going
Yeah.
to do the smashed avo, you're probably going to do a million other things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's where ego comes into it. Now, when you're young man,
100%.
especially with women, it's ego. They want to buy things to look good. So
Yeah.
part of the journey of building wealth is forget about your peers. They're probably not going to be around you later anyway,
Yeah.
because you change friendship circles. Okay. Most of your peers are going to live a mediocre life.
Yeah.
But if you want to be different, separate yourselves and don't worry about how you look in front of them, because eventually when you're like 50 and you're just balling on your Predator yacht with your Ferrari, then you'll feel like, yeah, okay, I got it. But that's when it happens. You've got to
Yeah,
build up to
absolutely.
be the person. Yeah.
And and I like what you said there, like your social circles will change. Like it's
Yeah.
like you're not in the same circle of friends you were when you're in primary school, then high school, then when you're playing sports, and then when you're at the gym. It
Yeah.
will evolve.
Yeah.
I'll have to say though, I'm grateful. Again, I'm not going to use the word lucky, but grateful that two of my best mates. One of them went to kindergarten with primary, high school, and he went to university, did the whole financial career as well, and absolutely killing it. But
Right.
we're still best mates to now. So like, I think that's a very rare occasion, that we're still so connected all this time on.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think having the right people around, you said earlier about the environment, is super important. Have the people that understand the sacrifices, that understand the journey, who are on the same sort of goal in life.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
it makes like you had 6 of you guys doing the ultra marathon. Imagine you were trying to do it by yourself and no one was there with you.
There's way harder.
It'd be a battle and a half every day.
Way harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least you had the environment and support network there to help as well. So, and I like what you said there, become more valuable as a human. I really like that. Become more valuable as a human. That's powerful.
Well, that's what people don't focus on.
Yeah.
They focus on the outcomes too much. Oh, the money, the time, and they don't do the work
So
on
true.
themselves. And like, if you think about it, if you spend money and invest in yourself, so that means do courses, read books, undertake, whatever it is, and
Yep.
do experiences, so run marathons, doing all those things, look after your body, get in good shape, then you become valuable because you've actually invested time and money into yourself.
Yeah.
Then what happens is you actually give that value back out to the world
100%.
tenfold, because you can give it to 10 people instead of one, and they find you as a person of value. Like, let's say, for example, you look at the bio, let's say when Dimity connected us and she's like, hey, listen, you need to talk to my friend Lloyd. And I sent you the bio in the book. By going through and working on myself, you perceive me as someone of value because I've done
Agreed.
some things that are kind of like a bit uncommon.
Absolutely.
So that's why it attracts me on your podcast. And then someone might come to me. It's how you build your wealth.
100%.
Yeah. You got to work on yourself. You got to build yourself.
I love that, man. Is there? You mentioned some earlier about some books. What would be your top 3 or 5 books? Number 1, obviously, Money Grows on Trees. Outside of that, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like, what would be some really good, money mindset books, or even just mindset, and then definitely building wealth books?
Yeah, I think my book, Money Grows on Trees, is a good starter, but it actually gives you the practical components of actually how to go make money. And if anyone buys my book and does my courses, people are actually saving and making money doing my courses. So if you want actual results, that's what I was aiming for. But there are tremendous resources out there for finance and money. And I think the first one I read that really made an impact was obviously Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
The second one was The Richest Man in Babylon, which is some really good stories in there of principles that have stayed with me to this day. And I picked up a book by Warren Buffett called The Snowball. It's by Alice Schroeder, but it's about Warren Buffett. And it really it gave me the light of how to actually invest, the principles of it. And those books led to other books, that you can get more like detailed books on investing. But those are the good key books, I think, there for money.
Good. Would you suggest someone to read about money, making money, building wealth, or to go and work alongside someone and follow suit, learn off like someone in person? Or I guess both of them are the answer, but is there a time when you should do one and not the other, or is there a time when you should transition?
Well, I think books give you the principles which you need. Some give you a bit of tactics, but it's usually the principles or a strategy. And tactics are sort of implemented through experience of yourself and through modeling others. And how I did that was I made Warren Buffett a mentor because I went and read all of his letters to his shareholders from 1970 to now. And it would be the best experience in investing and making money, the best education I think I've done. Outside that, did some courses, but yeah, modeling people, like modeling others who are investing and modeling their strategy and tactics. But a certain mentorship can only go so far, because then you have to make a decision and
100%.
make an investment and own it.
Implement. You got to put it in. You got to make it happen.
You got to own it. That's right.
Yeah.
Like when I did it, I read a lot of stuff, but I just took some money and I went, okay, I'm going to buy this share for these reasons, and this is the one I put the money in. That was it. I mean, I went in there to fail, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
you can't have all the answers before you make the first step, right? When we went through our ultra marathon, I didn't like take that first step thinking I was going to finish. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was prepared to fail. And I think people with their money and investing learn how to save, then take an investment, with the research you've done and the reading you've done, and that's how you learn, by doing. So I actually did a course though that does this after my book. That I did it because I want to teach people a bit more, because I didn't have that, what you're talking about, being able to model people. I didn't quite have a lot of that. So
yeah, good. And I think that's really, again, even outside of wealth, modeling people is the best way to learn. Like, obviously the likelihood of actually sitting down with Warren Buffett right now is pretty hard.
That's pretty hard. Yeah.
But if you can go and find a lot of his assets online, you can watch every single YouTube video, you can read all of his letters to his investors.
Yes.
Like, that's the closest you'll get, but then that's like the closest you can get to actually sitting down with him.
Yeah. And I think,
how good is that? Like, and then that's even in my book, like that, there's a whole thing, like the book's obviously called Be Great, and there's a whole part on there about modeling greatness.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't matter what field it's in, doesn't matter what industry it's in. There's
You're
certain things you can take from it.
Yeah. I think modeling people, the human brain incidentally learns the best kinesthetically. It learns by modeling.
Yeah.
And that's how we grow up. And so I think you hit it right on the mark. It's modeling. That's the best thing.
Yeah. And again, like you said, you're following where the investments that they've made. Why? Reading into it. Like, if it's okay for Warren Buffett to do that, I'm guessing it's okay for me too.
Pretty much. I made a lot of money out of that strategy.
And it's pretty simple. Whatever he does, do what he does. Yeah. But again, like, that's how you learn and grow. And if by you reading, and then you can pass it on to the next person. And like you said, you become more valuable as a human. I like that. I've got a question, right? Just want to get your opinion on it. When someone's financially struggling a little bit, even outside of COVID time, like let's say like they, haven't got all the dollars and they're making things, the Aussie Butler experience. Is the mindset to save more, or is the mindset to go and make more?
You have to do both. You have to learn how to save first, because if you want to make more, you've got to invest in something to go and make more. So like, for example, I teach a lot of people how to start up a side hustle, a second income, to diversify their income. Usually at a job, that's the only income they got. They know they're not going to wage rise. So I say to them, well, start a little side hustle. That's what we did. And they say, oh, how much? But I don't have saving. You need to have capital. If you want to start an info product business, or an Amazon business, or a dropshipping business, or a side, or network marketing, or affiliate marketing, whatever it is, a podcast, you need to have some capital to buy a Yeti microphone.
Correct.
You need to have some capital, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, some money. So if you don't have,
what happens if someone's like, I don't have any money saved and I can't save?
Well, that's a limiting belief that they can't save. It's that they don't choose to save.
Mm-hmm.
Because if like, for example, if they have it, you have to have a job.
Of course.
Right. And if you've got a job, then objectively you want to actually save about 10% of your money first, then spend the rest. So it's called reverse saving, where you actually save 10% first, put it away, and then go spend the rest. And you can actually, and this is what I learned from Richest Man in Babylon in that book, you can live on 90% of your income and have the same lifestyle. It's weird. So save the 10% first, put it in a separate account first, but have a goal for that. Say, that's my freedom money. That's my money where I'm going to build something. And then you can take that savings, and you can either invest in shares, which is a business.
Good.
You can invest in your own side hustle, or you can invest in a franchise, or you can invest in setting your car up for Uber. You can invest in that. I don't know. Yeah. But you can't do it if you have no savings. So I think people need a plan for their savings, and it'll actually entice them to save more.
I like that. And it's a similar, I don't know if you heard the book, it's called Profit First. It's more of a business money book, but it's the exact, it's very similar concept. It's like, put your profit money aside first. It's a mindset thing as well. I think even if you're saving 10%,
Yeah.
every morning you can wake up and say, hey, you know what? Okay, cool. Yesterday it was $0, and this week it's $100.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. There's $100 there that you've saved.
Exactly.
Over the year, that becomes what, a couple $100, couple $1,000.
Yeah.
You
It's the only way to
could have
do it.
$5,000. You could have $5,000 there by the end of the year.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That's the only way to do it. Like, there is no magic trick where you push a button and have savings. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah. So just start small. If it's $50 a week, $20 a week, whatever.
You can only start small.
True.
People are trying to wait. They're waiting to start big. And the answer is not there. You can only start small. There's no choice.
I've run out of room to take notes, mate. Come on.
But isn't it true though? Look after
that.
the pennies and the pounds will follow. My mum taught me that. It's in the book, like the pennies add up. It's the only way to go. Because money is behavioral. And if you don't form the habits, if you can't form the habits to save $50 a week or $20 a week,
100%.
you're never going to do the habits to save thousands a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about the ultra marathon. Like, you didn't start day one at running 100Ks. You started by doing, okay, cool, let's run 10Ks, and then let's go to the 20, and let's do half marathons.
Yep. That's it. We started at 6Ks. Now, if we had started at 100, that's what everyone's trying to do with money. They're trying to start at 100 grand. No. Start at $6.
I'm going to make enough money till I can actually save 100 grand at once. Just go.
That's what people do though, right?
Yeah.
And by the time they're earning their money, Jamie, what happens is they've got these big money coming in, and their money mindset and behavior and habits have not changed. They haven't shifted. So that's the people that spend still. If they make 500 grand a year, they spend 500 or 600. Right?
Yeah, they make 500 and spend 600. So
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. This is really good, man. And in your book as well, you spoke about property, and sort of, again, I don't want to steal your thunder. I want you to share about it, but talk to us a little bit more about like your belief around property. Because I know me personally, my story at the age of 18, because I grew up, again, modeling my family and everyone talking, oh my God, I should have bought property when I was younger. When I was younger. It was half the price. I could have bought land for 15 grand. So I'm sort of thinking, like, wow, okay, cool. I'm younger now. I'm 18 years old. Why don't I buy property? So I did. And had a pretty really successful career in property. So what's your opinion and vision and beliefs around that?
Property is a great way to maintain wealth. Property is a great way to maintain wealth.
I picked up that word. I picked it up.
and yeah, sure, people make money from property, of course. It goes up and up. It's a great asset. I'm not going to deny that. The problem I find is that they think that's the only way, and they get in way too early to an asset that's like 90% geared. And what happens is if you get that much debt and that much responsibility early in your life, especially in your 20s, it will rob you of any entrepreneurship that you'll ever want to do. And it robs you of entrepreneurialism. And unfortunately, once you've got a big mortgage and you're married and you've got a child and then you've got responsibilities, you can't take the risks. So I feel like property is a great asset to buy later. You're not going to miss out. Like, you can make far more money in other things like online business, podcasts, shares. You can make tons more money doing those things than property. There's a reason why on Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow board game that you buy shares first before you go and buy a big eightplex, right? There's a reason for that, because he knows it's easier to get into shares and make money. I think I'll make with one share portfolio this year like 180,000 like in one trade. So there is
property will take, who knows how long that will take.
It takes ages, right? I'm not saying that shares is fast either, because if you're investing correctly, it takes time, but it's more accessible. If you want to start with any investing, it will teach you that the money tree planting is better into an index fund in shares than it is in property, because you don't need debt to do it. And if you go and buy a property with debt, guess what? You don't see the cash flow. You never see it. So you never really understand the benefits of investing. So you don't believe in it, right? Even if it's a property investment, you're still buying it with a lot of debt, right? And all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm getting the rent, but I'm paying it back to the bank. Whereas if you learn how to save, maybe start a side hustle or something and build some extra money and save it, and you bought Commonwealth Bank, right? Then you're buying this money tree, because Commonwealth Bank will pay you in its good times 5.5% dividend yield, which is better than property rent. I do a little example in the book.
Yeah, and that's what I actually read that a couple of times, because I did the whole property thing. I was like, I wonder if we really find out why he's saying this.
Well, yeah. So like if you buy a Commonwealth Bank shares, number one, if you lose your property, the government doesn't bail you out. But if Commonwealth Bank goes upside down, the government bails it out. You can't lose with Commonwealth Bank, right? So the other thing is it pays a dividend of 5.5%. Rent is about 5%. So Commonwealth Bank pays a higher dividend than what you get from a rental property that it owns. And then
on top of all the fees you got to pay anyway.
Oh yeah, and then with a property, you got to pay $6,000 a year in operating costs for property management, rates, insurance, yada yada yada. Whereas with shares, you don't pay zero, none. So you're still at 5.5%. Whereas with property, you're down to like 3.5, right, or 3. Then you got to pay tax on all the income from that property, 30% tax.
Tell me about it.
And then Commonwealth Bank, zero, because they're fully franked dividends. You don't pay any tax on the 5.5%. So you're still left with 5.5% cash flow yield from shares in Commonwealth Bank, and you're down to 1% from your property. And that's why property is more of like a long-term protector of wealth than it is of a cash flow cow. It's not a cash cow. Property is a cash sucker. It sucks cash from people.
Unless, like you said, if you're going to sit on it for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, where time will just do its thing and you buy it for $100,000 and sell it for $300,000.
Yes, great.
Over a 20-year period or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing, Jamie. People don't suffer from assets. They suffer from no cash flow. They don't have any. So here's the objective. You want to save money and invest for cash flow first, so you have cash flow. And once you have cash flow, and I talk about 3 types of cash flow in the book, create those 3 forms of income first, and then when you're ready, buy a property. I'm 37, and we're just looking at property now. And I may not buy one for another few years. There's no rush, because when you've got all the cash flow coming in, we can level up. We were looking at a $4 million property the other day. And when you go and buy a $4 million property, right, and it grows by 10% in the year, that's $400,000 called sitting on your butt money. But here's the thing. If I had gone in early when I was 20, bought a property, I would not have been able to put that cash flow together because it would have robbed me of my entrepreneurialism. And I feel like I want to give permission for the young people. Here's what I want. Great property, put it on your vision board, go get it eventually. But please don't be in a rush. It'll crush you if you go in too early.
I like that, man. I like that. And you got to think about it, especially these days, a high percentage of the time, you're going to have some sort of savings to buy a property. So you're already halfway there. You've done a great job to save the deposit, the 20%, the 10%, whatever it is. Maybe, getting your hands on the Money Grows on Free book or listening to the other people out there who are saying, you know what, property is a bit more of a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Let's look at using that 20 grand you got saved, 80 grand you got saved to really maybe, grow it by 10, 15% over the next 12 months.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes even buying a business is better than buying a property. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. There's a timing. People just going too fast. And then all of a sudden.
There is a lot to consider. There's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah.
But there's some core concepts and core principles to follow when you're making decisions. And I think one thing I've always been big on is, like you said earlier, like definitely modeling people, but I have really good advisors around me, like even from day one, because I used to be in construction. So, I was making good money. That's why at the age of 18, I was in a position to buy a property.
Yeah.
But from that moment, I always had financial advisors, I always had accountants, I always had really good people, giving me advice on where to put money. And I've got one of my closest mates is a financial planner, and, taking a lot of, that's why I'm listening to what you're saying. And like in my head, I'm like, awesome, because I know I'm doing a lot of the diversification. And we've got money in different incomes coming in every year, which is amazing, But again, if I didn't have that network around me, there's no way I ever would have done that. I probably would have bought more property. I thought that's what you do.
Yeah. Because that's where your environment dictates your thoughts and your feelings and your actions and your results.
There you go. I like that. So I'm guessing that's where the whole share portfolio, because you started young, like you said. And again, like one thing I want to touch back on, you said, like, maybe this year there could be about 180K for one transaction in a share, but that's years of planting the seed. Like that's years of watering the seed. That's not just here in and out. It's
funny because when you have more money invested, the slightest change in the market can change things. When Biden got into presidency, and it was been like the Goldilocks zone of the share market, and I think their portfolio went up by like, I don't know, 150,000 a week.
Wow.
Which is mental, right? But because there's a large amount of capital in there. So
100%.
something was built up over time. And what I did when I was in my 20s is I started and I didn't waste money on cars and stuff like that. I actually had a plan for that money. I wanted to give it a job. So after reading the books and studying Warren Buffett, I was like, I'm just going to follow that strategy. And all I did was make investments in, I think my first stock was Westpac Bank. Not saying that's been the best for me, but it was the
You're in the
beginning.
game. You're in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly. Paying dividends and it's good, steady company, but there was more after that. You want to do better. And so you start investing more and more and more and more. And over 13 years, it's capitalized through compound interest to be a great a great sum of money.
You said then compound interest. In my head, I was like, if you're listening or you're watching, you need to read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and you just sort of touch on it straight away. But yeah, definitely. Again, that's the whole concept of it.
Yes. It's when your money makes money on itself, like a snowball. You push a snowball down the hill and it collects more snow. The longer the hill, the bigger the snowball.
And I love when people, like Warren Buffett, obviously he's been labeled as the richest man in the world multiple times. I don't know if he is right now, but again, he's been in the game. Like he's on the biggest snow hill in history. Like how old is he? Like 90?
Yep. He's in his late 80s.
Yeah.
And
So he's been in the game a very, very, very long time.
Yep. Long hill. And
Massive hill.
There's two components to invest really successfully. Find a really long hill, which means look after your body and live a long time because you need that time for compound interest to be effective, really effective. And then find some really good slushy snow. So put together your seed, your money seed, and save up a lot instead of eating avo and toast. Build it up early in your early 20s, okay? Put into a good quality share portfolio. Keep adding to it over time and let compound interest do all the heavy lifting. Warren Buffett made most of his money, I think, some ridiculous sum, like billions, after age 65. Because it's when the snowball gets the biggest at the end of the hill.
It's like it's getting the heaviest, the most momentum, and it's picks up more speed. And in a way, like
it
grows, it makes more money.
Yeah. And I'm not saying don't live your life in between that. So
it needs to be a bit of balance there. And then on that, like, where does someone, like, what do you, when you're working with, your clients to help them understand and build their money tree and build their wealth, like, where do you draw a line? Like, is there a time when it's like, okay, cool, you know what? Yeah, you can have that almond latte today. Like, you've done well.
I don't like budget with people. I don't give any of that type of traditional advice.
Good.
They literally read my book and they really do my courses. And I'm an educator. And they go away and take the education and do what they will with it, right? And that's how I've avoided the financial advice area, because I prefer to teach people how to fish than give them a fish. So it's up to them to decide when they think is enough. But here's the thing. If you plant the correct money tree and you keep adding to it and not rob it, the dividends off that, which is where you go at the back door and collect the money off the tree, the dividends you can spend. Go spend them. Like yesterday, we were going to JB Hi-Fi. I was with my wife and she's like, I want to buy this new laptop. She even went and she's cute and she sold her Mac that I gave her ages ago. She sold it on eBay. She didn't use it. She didn't want to learn the operating system, right? I get it. It's hard. She's like, I just want a laptop like yours. I'm like, great, let's go get you one. So she sold it. She went to JB Hi-Fi and I'm like, oh, she got this cash. It's so cute. I'm like, we work hard in our business. She's almost like, I said to her, look, let's put it on, let's get the dividends to pay for it. And you keep the cash and spend it, buy some. So she had $1,000 cash there. She's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, we invest our money and we got a dividend. So the dividends paid for the laptop. Okay. Now the ANZ Bank dividends paid for that. So it's okay to spend the dividends, but don't spend the principal. The money tree is built to actually, you don't go cut down the tree to spend the money, right? You don't log it. you go and trade it in. You pick the fruit off. Yeah, that's why, a great money tree is going to grow continuously. Then you go pick the fruit when it falls to the ground. That's all we do. So you can spend it. God, I think in my book I talk about when Commonwealth Bank was actually paying dividends before the pandemic. It's going to start paying again next year, which is good. But I'd get a dividend check of like $11,000 from Commonwealth Bank, tax free. That's some juicy fruit, right? And so we could spend it on holidays, on whatever. So
because you've got it coming in from multiple angles, Combank, Westpac, ANZ, here, there, and everywhere. 5,000, 10,000, 11,000. Before you know it, you've generated 200 grand for the year.
Yeah, if you've got a large portfolio, you can produce that. Like $1 million.
That 200 grand starts at $200.
Correct.
Dividends will be $200 after the first year.
Yeah, I mean, I started with I had like $5,000 saved up or 10 grand saved up. It took me a while. I'm like, and I put in $3,000, I think it was, to Westpac Bank shares. And I think my first dividend check was $100. It was a bit, I think I talked about in the book. I'm like, that was a bit, it was like a pivotal moment in my life. Like, I invested money, it's still there, and I got $100. I used to have to go and wash cars and clean pools for $100,
Totally.
right? I was like,
Again,
I'm grateful for
that
100.
comes back to the time thing.
Yeah,
Like you
definitely.
said, it's that $20 or the $100 that you find on the floor. It's that time that you've got back in your time in your life now as well.
Totally.
What would you say are some of your top habits, Lloyd? Things that you do on a daily basis, whether it be around wealth or whether it be around keeping yourself sharp and on point to do all the things that you do. What would you say are some real key things that you do?
Yeah, okay, cool. Before I go on, I would say the reason my shirt's changing colors here is because my air conditioner just broke
Oh,
about an hour ago, and I'm just sitting here going, I got a grey shirt on. I've got a grey shirt on. My sweat's coming out. My sweat's coming out.
Sorry, buddy.
No. So
We'll
if
wrap
you
this
see
up.
my shirt, changing color, that's why.
He's getting passionate. He's really excited
No,
to
it's
talk
not.
about money. That's all it is, not the aircon.
So the question was, what are some of the ways I stay?
Habits. Yeah, some of your habits. 3 habits that you do on a daily basis.
So, the first habit I have is like this morning I was up at 4:45 or something. And I was down at Burley. I went for a 6.5K run, which is not a long run, but
After
it
doing
was
100 Ks,
it was one day. It was one day. But if I get up and I exercise, and I'll do that, I'll get up early in the morning 3 times a week. And I might exercise on other days at different times, but I exercise. That's one thing I have to do, because if you're not in great shape, you can't think fast, you can't think sharp, and you don't feel good, and you're not confident. You got to exercise, and I eat well too, right? I have my smoothie in the morning and keep going. So I eat well and exercise. That's the first thing I do. I think about. The next one is I put a little to-do list together. Try and do 6 good things for the day, and I'll write down those list of 6 things, and I'll really attack that for the day, and that's how I feel like I'm productive. It's not more than that, because you can get overwhelmed. 6 things. I think Charles Schwab, who used to run US Steel for Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the wealthiest men in history, he had this productivity guy come in and said, look, just get all your guys to do 6 things a day. And I learned that off a mentor, and I think that is a really effective way to stay productive for the day. Because I have my own businesses, I get to choose what I do, but I spend a bit of time on one and a bit of time on the other. And in between, might jump on a podcast, right? Or whatever it's going to be. But you have to be flexible. But I think if you structure your day where you get up at a certain time each day and go to bed at a certain time each day, and bookend your day. So like exercise to begin with, it's your bookend, have a shower, get changed, get ready, go to it, hustle, have your lunch, make time for yourself. And then in the afternoon, when you get back from work or whatever, do something to bookend read a book. And that's how you bookend your day. At least you've done your exercise, read your book, you've worked, and if you've got time, an hour a day on your side hustle. That's how I would spend it.
I like it. And I like how you said there, like, you've got to be flexible, but you also got to have structure, and I think some people find that tough combination of having both. One thing that I've always believed is structure brings freedom.
Yes.
Like having structure, and in a way, it doesn't actually make sense. Someone might listen to that, but how can structure bring freedom? It's because I am that structured that I have freedom to do whatever I want.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And what happens is people who have create freedom in their life financially, they don't have any structure, and all of a sudden they spin out of control.
And it all crumbles down.
Yep, you still got to have structure. Yeah,
totally. And I like what you said there. It's not minute to minute. It's not like every single minute I know exactly where I have to be. It's, I start my day, I end my day. I know exactly what I need to do in between. And I have structure. I've got meetings and appointments. I go for my 6 things. I exercise in the morning. I eat well. Consistency. You do that over a long period of time, like you said about Warren Buffett. He's going to build a massive hill. And that compounding interest will do some really cool things for you. Is there one thing over the journey, Lloyd, that you've learned, again, personal, business, money, whatever it may be, that has really blown you away? That you're just like, wow, I can't believe that.
I think, truthfully, what actually got me into this position now was I started a side hustle in network marketing. And that is something that I never thought I'd ever do, because my background, I'm a lawyer and yada, yada, yada. And there's a stigma around network marketing.
Absolutely.
Right? So what blows me away is if people really knew what we earned in network marketing, they would like to sell their soul to me. It's the most incredible business model. It's what actually propelled us to have this tremendous success. We've applied the fruits of that business model into so many things, and it still blows me away every Monday what we get paid. And I wish people were more open to other ways of earning income than just jumping in on Uber Eats or whatever it is they do. I truly, like, I wish it for them, you know? And so I think that's in my whole life of success, I cannot believe that I'm doing network marketing, but I'm so grateful that that's the business we chose. It's incredible. The
Right.
other thing is I've learnt, and I think I can give this for the viewers, you know, if they're listening to this one, lean into what sucks. Lean into it. Like, I think there's too many of us that try to run away from hard stuff, take the easy route, right? And I learned this from David Goggins' book. You can read it, That Can't Hurt Me. But then when I started leaning into stuff that sucked, and I've done it quite a lot of time. I've done it. Like when I was even studying for my CFA, my mates were over in Brazil partying and I was sitting there learning finance. I've always lent into hard stuff and completed it. If you do that, you're going to be successful. Okay. You can't not be. That's the other thing I've learned. It blows me away how tremendously, because what you lean into one thing that's hard and you complete it, it always leads to another thing.
But it builds that confidence, builds that self-belief that, wow, that was one day hard.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I made it somewhat. Look at you. Like you lent into doing it the first time, the CFA, failed. Lent to it again, do it a second time, failed. Lent into it again the third time, got it.
Got it. Yeah.
You could have absolutely given up after the first one, absolutely given up after the second one. And it probably would have been, you know what, he's tried twice, he hasn't got it. Well, cool, he's probably just not made for it. It might have been acceptable.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, fuck that shit. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah,
I'll lean in a little bit further. I'll do something a little bit different. And you got the result. I like it. Do you remember a moment when you sort of said to yourself, like, wow, like, not that we've made it, but like, wow, like, it's working. Like, look what we've created. Was there a particular, not one moment, but was there one that you can really remember? It's like, wow, like, shit. The fruit is falling from the sky.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that one. I like it. I think the first was when I got paid the first dividend check. I was like, I've understood investing here. I think this is going to work. That was the first thing. The second part was in 2016 when we really understood our network marketing side hustle, and we made our first, we created our 100,000 a year income. So I remember I was in the gym and I got this notification on my phone, ANZ Go Money app, and I pulled it up and we'd been paid like $1,800 for the week as a side hustle. I was like, profit. I was like, holy crap, like this is, I think we're cracked. Like this is the thing. That was another moment. And then outside that, I think when you win certain awards, so like getting, you know, some certain awards in our business, it's kind of like that success flag. Like, hey, we've been recognized as we know what we're doing too. You know, winning a few trips. When you win trips or you earn recognition, it's a landmark that you're on the right path. So I think those things have been a real help to say, okay, I think we're on the right path here. We're on the right structure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's that confidence, is that momentum. It's that, cool, we've come this far. We're getting recognized and, you know, we believe that we're doing the right things. We're getting results. Let's go a little bit harder. Let's double down a little bit more, which is what it's all about. Is this ultimately what you sort of envisioned as a 18-year-old leaving school?
Okay, that's a good question. Weirdly, yes. Like in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna do something that's I really resonated with me when I read Robert Kiyosaki's book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I always knew I was gonna make money by hook or by crook. You know, what is it? Get rich or die trying. I was gonna make it happen. How? Didn't quite know, but I knew inherently I was gonna do it. Did I know it was going to be in network marketing and investing in shares and, you know, writing a book and courses? No. But the universe has an amazing way of working things out for you when your why is strong enough. If your why is strong enough, the how will work itself out, but you have to be steadfast in your vision.
Yeah.
Right?
I like it. Very similar, man. It was like, I just sort of knew that there was something more than construction for me. I started
man. You're not built for that.
I started at, 17, left school year 11. I was like, there's definitely more out there. What it is, I don't know. At the time, my mindset was I just want to become really good at construction. I want to become really successful in construction. And I was like, well, maybe I'll own my own construction company one day. Who knows? Because that's just the field I was in. I wasn't aware of what property could do. I wasn't aware of what stocks and shares and business and all those other things and that could do. But like you said, again, you're sort of exposed to that as soon as you start hanging out with a certain group of people. Like you change your environment. If you're not
Correct.
hanging out with the guys who are going out every Thursday night for uni night, every Friday night, because it's what else you do, and Saturday and Sunday and Monday,
Uh-huh.
you're hanging out with the guys who are, trying to create something,
Yeah.
you're ultimately going to follow in those footsteps.
Yes, correct. And I'll tell you a defining moment when a defining behavior that I changed that made my success accelerate drastically. I think you might be the same. I don't know. A lot of young men maybe, but people say to me, "What do you put your success down to?" I said, "Well, it started happening even faster. I was already doing it before, but it happened faster when I stopped going to the pub. Truly,
100%.
I don't go to the pub. It's just
Same.
it stopped. I mean, it started when I stopped going to the pub properly.
Start
And I
getting
think
those
that,
next level results.
yeah, I think it's so good for young men to know that because it's such an
100%.
easy habit to get sucked into to think
Agreed.
just because it's,
Agreed.
so I think that's,
And again, it is a real topic. It is a social environment. There's no harm. We're not saying don't go out and have fun, but there needs to be a time where it's like, you know what? Really, like you said earlier, like, there'll be a time when you have the yacht and the Ferrari and you can drink all the champagne and the beer and the spirits that you ever wanted to. Definitely have fun on the journey. I'm not saying not to have fun.
yeah, correct. Like, I'm not saying don't ever go, but like habitually it's like a rite of passage for young men to go to the pub,
Yeah.
get drunk, get like,
And it goes in that mindset. You said the Aussie battler way. It's like if you're 18 to 25 and you're not at the pub 3 times a week, then there's something wrong with you.
correct.
And if you're one that says no, I don't want to go there, then there's definitely something wrong with you.
Yeah. So one of my friends I went to school with who didn't go to the pub and didn't do that and invested in himself, he started a business. He got Young Entrepreneur of the Year. His name is Brad Illich, and he created this program called New Book. And I feel in my heart of hearts, I haven't spoken to him for a while, but he's probably going to be a billionaire. And that's because he started early.
Yeah,
than all the rest of us.
100%. How good is that? Not about like what makes you special, Lloyd, but like why did you do it, man? Like why did you make it? Like we're sort of talking about the young kids, and some go to the pub and some don't, and
Yeah.
like why you? Like what did you do? It's not about like I said, it's not about what makes you special,
Sure.
but it's just
I don't think
why
you
you?
feel. I don't think you feel special, like, because sometimes you're like, why me? Like you as a B grade or C grade student at school, you didn't really do that good at school, and you're okay at sports, but you weren't ever like chosen for the Queensland Reds or whatever. Like I never excelled. Like I was good, but I wasn't like the standout. And I was like C grade student, But I think one of the things that I've done that's helped me continue to be successful is I never stopped reading and learning after school. I never stopped. And my dad said to me once, he's like, listen, if you leave school and if you just stop reading and learning, he says, like being a cowboy and putting your guns away, stop gunfighting. You're not going to be a good cowboy anymore. So I think that's helped me a lot. And probably my ego. So not having that early success, I never developed this huge ego that I was supposed to be better than everyone else. So I never was entitled. But I guess in my book, I talk about this. I had a really, really I was fortunate to grow up with great parents, and my dad was really successful. So I was able to see how he did things. I modeled his graft and his hustle and his hard work ethic. Yeah. And my mum's sensibility within finance. And I was able to, they didn't know I was modeling them, but I was watching and I was learning. That helped me a lot too. So why me? Like that was a good environment. But then it was like a time where I was like, I want to go against the grain. I like being unconventional.
Yeah.
It really lights me up. I like to dig it in the ribs. People can't do stuff. I like to do it just to show them. It's just this weird, like, weird fetish.
Hey man, I'm exactly the same.
I don't know.
My missus sometimes says you can't wear that in public, that like the outer film. Like, you
Yeah.
know what? Because you said it, I absolutely am. You can't wear
There
those
you go.
shoes with those pants. I'm like, you know what? Absolutely, I am.
Yeah. It's an independent mindset. I don't know. It's cool. It's weird. I don't know. I like to make people feel uncomfortable in a good way.
Similar to you. Like I wrote my book in 6 weeks, right? No one said
Nice.
it's possible. It's like there's no way, and I wrote it in the middle of COVID, right? So it's like
Hey, you
April, and people are like, you can't write a book and launch it and publish it, everything in 6 weeks. I was like, probably not, but let's give it a crack, and I'll probably try, and I'll definitely prove you wrong. And then within like 5 weeks, we had the entire thing written and edited and back, and then we pretty much launched like in the 6.5 weeks. Incredible. But again, like someone like you said, someone tells you can't do it. I'll move mountains to show you that it is possible.
I know that I'm not interviewing you, but that, like, I'd love to. another time. But like, what is it that makes you special? Like, how do you put that in words?
Yeah, and you know what? My answer is very similar to yours. Like, I definitely had a really good upbringing. Like I really had, like my parents were always very supportive. Like they never really said you can't do this or you can't achieve that, But at the same time, similar to what like your dad said about like don't stop learning. My dad was always about like do the extra work. So I would have footy training Monday and Wednesday or Wednesday and Friday as a junior, but then on the other days we would go to the footy club ourselves and do stuff.
Nice.
Same as cricket. So we would have cricket Wednesday, Friday night training. But Tuesday and Thursday, we would be at the nets, just me and him,
Yeah.
and I'd bat for an hour.
Great.
And then the next night, I'd bowl for an hour.
Yeah.
So it was always that little bit of extra work. And there'd be nights, like, and obviously, man, I speak about it in the book, like, there'd be sometimes when I hated it. I was like, why do I have to be here?
Yes.
Like, why me? Like, why are you taking me here? I want to be at home playing PlayStation. Like, why are we here?
Dude,
But it's those little things that,
yes.
looking back now, that extra hour, that extra half an hour, you do that over a season, like, you've gained an extra 3 days of training.
Well, you learned that sacrifice pays off.
That's ultimately what it was, and then sort of building up into construction, I sort of knew that, going to the pub wasn't my thing. Luckily, I was playing professional footy, so I couldn't really go to the pub because I had to be in shape.
Were you playing professional footy?
Yeah, AFL. So, I couldn't do that, even though it's a bit of a stigma again to go out and drink and do all that sort of stuff. I was working full time in construction, plus playing professional footy. Like I was dead tired come the end of the week. Like the last thing I wanted to do was actually go out. All I wanted to do was eat. I was like, I just want to eat food, because like you're burning so much, like you're going through so much. I just want it. Like I just want to rest and eat. That's it.
Yeah.
And then that's what gave me the ability to, get ahead in life and, put the seeds down nice and early to grow with. And, how I was in a position at the age of 18 to buy a property.
Amazing.
Learn, grow, do, repeat. There you go, man. Exactly right. That's ultimately what it is. It's ultimately what it is. Last question for you, Lloyd. Has there been something, and, I want to quickly just say, some of those key points you've mentioned about your dad and your parents, like some of those little, messages that they instilled into you really early. I think that's really profound and has really helped you get, it's really built that foundation ultimately to build on and do the things that you've done. Has there ever been something that someone said to you directly, or that you heard, or that you read, something that's come up in your life, but for you, when times get tough or when you need to just realign or refocus, that plays in your mind? Is it like a saying, a quote, a word, a moment?
I guess it's like Winston Churchill, like if you find yourself in hell, keep going. You don't want to stop there in the middle of hell. You just keep walking. I think, like it's just not a good place to be, is it? And I guess in your dips in your business and your dips in your relationships and your dips in your finances, and it's not a great place to stop. And I think about our ultra marathon, we were going from checkpoint to checkpoint without stopping. And every time we go past someone, they were stopping for between checkpoints and they were resting. And I was like, oh my God, we cannot stop here. We're in the middle of hell. We've got to keep going. And that's probably what I think of if it's hard times. I'm not saying I've had hard, like in dips in business and stuff like that, you have to just do that. Dig your heels in, because you can't stop there.
100%.
Yeah, you got to keep going. There's no other way to it.
If you find yourself in hell, keep walking / keep going. Just keep pushing through, because you definitely don't want to stop there.
Nope. It's not a good place.
No. Well, again, why surround yourself in that?
Yeah, you don't want to be in hell. I want to be in heaven.
100%. I just want to keep running through this shit. I don't want to stay here. Yeah. Lloyd, man, this has been incredible. I've actually lost track of time. And we have had an incredible conversation. I know there's a lot of golden nuggets in there. I'm somehow going to have to read through all my notes. I have no idea.
No, you're a beat. You are an animal.
I hope you've had fun, most importantly, on the episode. Look, where can people, absolutely get their hands on a copy of the book? Where can they find and follow more of Lloyd and what you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram. Lloyd James Ross is my Insta handle. And then on Facebook, Lloyd J. Ross. They're my two main channels, but obviously YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the rest of them. But I'm on Twitter, Lloyd James Ross on Twitter. But if you want to read the book, you just go to, you can obviously find the links in those areas, but moneygrowsontreesbook.com. Moneygrowsontreesbook.com.
I'll make sure I put all the links in the show notes for people to get access to as well. So they can get like a high list. Just like I said, I read it twice, and it's always, like you said, there's always something. Like, look how many books you've read over the time. You see like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they're always reading something.
They are.
So that there's definitely something to it. if they're
Yes.
reading a lot, learning a lot, like you said, if you learn, you can you bring more value as a human.
Yeah,
Which means
definitely.
you can deliver and bring impact on other levels as well. So,
Yeah.
Lloyd, man, I really appreciate it. I really
Man, thanks for having me on. It's been awesome chatting with you. I love what you do. You're
Thanks, buddy.
amazing, and
Appreciate it.
thanks, appreciate it too.
Nah, definitely. Thanks, mate. Thank you. And again, for everyone else out there watching and listening, thank you for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.